All right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at that workflow that we kind of looked at in the previous video, and we're going to try to translate it onto how does that happen in the world of PACS. So let's do that. As you know, when we talk about imaging, the first thing we need to take into consideration is the fact that we need an order. And orders are super important in the world of PACS. They get transmitted to us via a standard called HL7, which we'll take a look at in the future videos probably. But importantly, first things first, we always need an order. And that order is going to get to us via a system that's used in virtually every hospital, and that's called a hospital information system, sometimes a module of that's known as a radiology information system. So RIS or HIS. And ultimately, what's going to happen is that a physician is going to need some imaging. They're going to put it into their HIS, RIS, however that happens to be, and that's going to get transmitted over to us. PACS going to know there's an order, and the PACS-based workflow, if that's how it's set up, is going to start. That's what we're going to look at. But ultimately, we have an order, and at that point, the technology is going to come, and they're going to get the patient, they're going to image them, and they're going to image them using their modalities, right? So what you're looking at here are the actual modalities. This is an MRI, pretty old one. This is an X-ray, plain X-ray, again, a pretty old one. That's a CT. Those are called imaging modalities. They're going to generate images, and those images are going to come over to PACS. They're going to come in what's known as DICOM format. Again, we'll talk later in the future videos about what that is and why that's important. But they're going to send images over to us, to PACS, for viewing, for storage, for diagnosing, for that type of business. So once that's done, again, we're obviously going to archive it. So that's a simple thing. We are going to at some point move the images over to the archive. You can see that there is a double-edged arrow out here, and that's because we're able to send images over to the archive, as well as retrieve them back from the archive whenever we need to. Once all of that's done, it's time for those images to be read by the radiologist. And that's where these reporting stations will come into play. So we're going to take the new images, we're going to take the relevant priors that the PACS would have gotten by now, and then we're going to move them over to the what's known as the reading workstation. So the radiologist is going to come in, they're going to take a look at them, they're going to compare them to priors, they're going to do their stuff, and ultimately what they're going to do is they're going to diagnose. Once they make the diagnosis based on the imaging, they're going to create a report. Now, they're going to create the report in usually a dictation software, and actually there should be an arrow between the dictation software and the RIS as well, because that's ultimately where we're going to send the report, and then that report is going to come back and live on PACS as well. Now, the last thing left for us is the final stage, and that's when the clinicians that actually are treating the patient are going to look at the images and read the report. And that's where the clinical viewing stations come into play. So again, it's a double-edged arrow because anything that's saved on PACS can be sent back to the central sort of repository. But in all reality, in most cases, it's just going to be the clinicians looking at images. Now, I should mention that this is sort of a very typical workflow. There are instances where clinicians would look at images that have not been reported yet. This would be things like tube insertion or maybe emergency workflow. So there's different types of scenarios that exist. Again, this diagram holds. Oops, I should get rid of that, shouldn't I? This diagram holds because we have because ultimately what they're going to do is they're going to go into their clinical viewer and they're going to search for the patient that they need. They're going to open up the images, whether they're reported or not reported. The reported versus not reported piece will just affect on whether there is a report for them or not. All right, so that's it. That's your kind of a workflow in a nutshell. So see you in the next video.